I think of the impact that I can have in other people's lives in terms of a mentorship role.
1-3-3-1. The idea comes, so that's the idea. Then I reach out to 3 individuals and I ask them to give me 3 ideas of how this could go.
Failure is a necessary process in our pursuit of success and playing this game called life, but it's not an identity, it's just an event.
I used to chase the ROI all the time, return on investment. And over the course of time, that has evolved into what I call return on life.
Welcome back to the Return on Life podcast. I'm Randy Dyck, and I have an amazing guest today, but it is not always about the ROI, return on investment. It's about the return on life, which is what we're going to talk about today. And my guest today, Phil Hahn, is not only a great friend of mine, a business partner, but he is extraordinary in just about everything he does in life. This man has done some exceptional things when it comes to business, when it comes to raising his family. We're going to touch on that a little bit too, and just living life to the fullest. So welcome here, Phil.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks for having me, buddy. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Right on, right on. Now, you traveled over from your island this morning.
I did. Yeah, I did. It was a lovely ferry trip, and it was a beautiful day, and it was quite busy. A lot of traffic with summer holidays coming to a conclusion, and so there were a lot of people, but it was nice.
So it's not your entire private island?
No. It's a little island with about 500,000 people.
Well, you have a beautiful place. I've visited you in Victoria, and Victoria's just gorgeous, gorgeous. Well, Phil, I think a lot of our listeners need to know how we met because they see us together often, whether it be in social or events, whatever it may be. And we do events together called Realtor Collective.
That's right. Yeah.
But how did we meet? How did we connect?
Yeah, so I want to say it was 2007, 2008. You were advertising extensively on CHRI. I believe it was Praise 106.5 FM.
Yes.
It was Remax Randy Dyck. And so I had some referral business coming to the mainland. And so I reached out to Remax Randy Dyck because that was the brand that I was, accustomed to hearing on the radio station. And so we became referral partners back then. And then, of course, when the EXP opportunity came about, I had reached out to you because you were the natural fit to open up the Fraser Valley with your extremely amazing pedigree and track record in real estate. And so I reached out to you, and here we are 6 years later.
And, the crazy thing is, I know you were sending referrals my way, but we didn't really connect until it was that EXP experience.
You got it.
And of course, the moment I saw the model, which you so clearly and concisely shared with me, it was like a no-brainer for me. But we'll get into some more EXP things as well. But that's fantastic. So, return on life, and we'll dive deep into some other stuff, some topics that are going to be, might even cry. Who knows? We might even cry.
That's okay.
But return on life. When you think of that word, return on life, or that phrase, what do you think of?
That's a loaded question, Randy. I think of my contribution. I think of the impact that I can have in other people's lives in terms of a mentorship role, in terms of a friendship role, a familial role, a leadership role. And so for myself, I know that one of my biggest satisfactions is to see the people that I love and those around me succeed at the highest levels and win in no matter what endeavor that they're taking on. Mm-hmm. That's a big why for me.
I mean, it's fitting because I know you well. And I always say you're the go-giver. You love to give to others. You build others up. You build me up all the time.
Thanks.
And you praise one another. You praise others. So I really, really appreciate that about you. We're in business, and business can be ruthless at times. But that concept of giving just kind of nullifies that ruthlessness and makes us collaborative. And I was thinking about this the other day, how I thought I was collaborative until I connected with you, and that led us to EXP. And my collaboration, my sense of abundance was exponential over the last 5 years. And so I have to thank you for that. Is that something that manifested over time for you, or did you just...
Well, it's interesting we're having this conversation. It's somewhat fortuitous. yesterday, my son, actually Saturday, so Saturday was a pretty emotional day for our family. About 8 years ago, my father passed of cancer, summer of 2016. Actually, it was August 17th, 2016. And we were on our way to a cruise, a boat that we had chartered to spread my father and stepmom's ashes. And my son said to me, he said, you know, Dad, he said, in your role that you're creating and now, he said, I think this is really well suited to you. He said, because in the trenches, you tend to be a very fierce competitor. And I think this is really bringing out the best in you, this mentorship and this ability to, insert everything, all of your successes and all of your failures into the people around you, you know? And so that was kind of an aha for me, a validation from my eldest son, who's a deep thinker, that I was on the right path. And that was this past Saturday, right before we went to spread my parents' ashes. So out on the Pacific Ocean.
What do you think that change ingredient was and is continuing to live out in that? Was there something that just brought that forward, or is it just the moment? Is it the environment? Is it the people around you? What's the ingredient?
Yeah.
Because I mean, if we could bottle that, that would be magic.
Yeah. It's a great question, Randy. You know, I think that I've been blessed to have a lot of amazing mentors and leaders pour into me over the years and give me love and leadership. And it's that abundant mindset as opposed to one of scarcity that, you know what, by helping people from all walks of life with everything and anything, you're really living your most authentic, successful life. And that's what I truly believe for myself.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't, listen, I have made mistakes, Randy, and I have failed and failed and failed. But I think that by helping people win at whatever it is, it charges my battery. It's my ROL, buddy.
Beautiful. Failing's important. At least it is for me.
Yeah.
I learn a lot through failure, but I also make mistakes, and I also need to come back and seek forgiveness often, because my mistakes often make me do things that I'm not so proud of as well. Because when you're in that pressure situation, sometimes you force things that shouldn't be forced, or you do things to get somewhere and then you hurt people along the way. How does forgiveness fit into your world? Because forgiveness is a really big piece to how we live, how we function, and how we actually heal ourselves, heal others, and the world is healed through forgiveness.
So you've got to be able to forgive yourself first and foremost, and have some grace and compassion and empathy for yourself, in order to be able to grant that grace to others, I believe, in an authentic manner and capacity. And so, there were times in my life when I would hold a grudge and be, a little more ruthless. And, those days have gone to the wayside. But I think it's, again, some of the people that extended grace to me in my life and have shown me that, you don't have to come at someone with everything if they've wronged you. There's power in just letting them go. And obviously there's a tremendous biblical support and perspective on that as well to forgive, right? And have grace and compassion. And so I think it's about forgiving yourself and just understanding that, and touching on the failure component, Randy, is that failure is a necessary process in our pursuit of success and playing this game called life, but it's not an identity. It's just an event, right? And so understanding that when it comes to failure, just fail forward, fail often, and remove yourself, the you from failure, I guess is a big one. I learned that from John Maxwell many years ago, about removing the you from failure.
I like that.
Yeah.
You said one thing, letting go. And I think for a lot of our listeners, that word forgiveness is such a big word that you can feel uncomfortable with that word.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel uncomfortable with that word forgiveness. Yeah. Or forgiving, but you could have kind of forgiveness light word is letting go. You let it go, and so I love that word. You're a gifted individual.
Thanks, buddy.
Really gifted in so many ways. What is your greatest gift?
I think that the ability to identify talent where others may not see it, even people within themselves may not see it. It's that vision of seeing people's potential before they even see it.
Hmm. Can you give us an example of somebody that maybe you saw their potential, they had no idea, and then you helped them elevate to extraordinary?
One that would come to mind, Thomas Calla. Thomas Calla was an analyst in the scrap recycling business, and he had coached my kids in hockey and trained them in hockey, and he was a fierce coach. Very technical, very systems, very process driven, and just an awesome leader. And he got into the scrap recycling business and became very successful, but he was peaked, he was capped. And I started telling him, I want to say when he was in his early 20s, that Thomas, you need to get your real estate license. You will crush it. You will be one of the best there is. And, fast forward 4 or 5 years into the game, he's one of our top agents in the country. He's got an amazing wife, 2 beautiful children, has bought, dozens of rental properties in a short period of time, and has really, really, really ramped it up. And I saw that. Like I saw the end result for him in his early 30s of what that was going to look like. And that was, just one of those scenarios on a non-familial basis. Of course, my sons that I've loved on and dripped on for many, many years as well are all massively successful in their own industries and rights as well. So,
Do you have a favorite son? We can't answer that.
Yeah. Love them all.
Love
all
them
my
all.
favorite. I always say, you're my favorite Mitchell, you're my favorite Dante, my favorite Jarrett, my favorite Oliver. Yeah. So
that's awesome. Last question here, and then we'll move on. Crucible moments, big moments that are challenging to us, that test our mettle, test who we are, but transform us at the same time. What are some crucible moments that have really changed who you are? Is there one or two that you want to share?
Yeah. So, probably one of the main ones would be when I got out of my automotive arbitrage export business in the early 2000s. And that was a crucible moment. I remember having the phone call with my spouse and saying, I'm out, I'm done, and coming home and feeling tremendous peace about it. But it was a pretty strong calling that I should not be doing this in this industry anymore. And so that was that. And then the other was, believe it or not, when I was in Austin, Texas, looking at purchasing some regions for a big international global real estate company. And my hotel apparently has caught on fire.
Headquarters is?
Their headquarters was in Austin, Texas, of that company. And the hotel apparently had caught on fire. This was the summer of 2017. And so I was in the pool with my wife, and they said, hey, you've got to come out. You got to come out. And the pool was on the 6th or 7th floor, one of those terrace pools that overlooks the city. And so we couldn't take the elevator. So we had to walk down all these flights of stairs in our swimsuits. And so we did, and we sat on a park bench, and she said, you got to take a look at this EXP thing before we do this, because it was a huge financial commitment. And so we did. And here we are 6 years later, Randy, right? So that was a defining moment, is that decision to actually slow down and take a look at that opportunity in that company. And I'm a math guy, as you know, I love numbers and stats and data. And so, just based on what they had shared, I knew that this was going to literally change the world of real estate.
We need to stay here because you mentioned something that's really important. Having people around us and having them speak into what we're doing or being, and often those are the people that speak that we don't want to listen to at times. Like, you mentioned your spouse. There's often times that Jolene speaks to me and I go, nah, I got this figured out. Yeah. But yet she's speaking truth.
Yeah.
Truth. Yeah. And I'm not ready to listen.
Yeah.
How do we work through that? How do we and maybe it's just men. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just men have a hard time listening to people with great advice.
Yeah. So that's, Randy, that speaks to humility. It speaks to maturity, and it speaks to coachability. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I think as, you and I are both quite driven and focused, and we can be tunnel vision focused. But I think as we mature as adults and as business people and as men and leaders, we understand that we really don't know anything. And the more we learn and the more we grow, the more we know we don't know. So you're constantly having to learn and to educate yourself. And so that's, it's that coachability thing.
Okay. So since we're on relationships, there's many relationships that you've had over the years that you've been personal, business, maybe a combination of both of those kind of relationships. Do you, once a relationship, always a relationship, or do you keep evaluating that relationship? Should I distance that relationship? Should I bring it closer? Should I discard it? Relationships.
Yeah.
We're relationship people.
Yeah. So I don't believe you can discard people. I think that's pretty aggressive. I think that as you grow, you need to be very cognizant of the people around you that aren't applauding your success and growth. Okay. That's important because those probably aren't your people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you need to love your family and choose your friends. Now, it's an interesting point because, you grew up in Pincher Creek, small farming agricultural community, and you have your friends, from going to Columbia Bible College and Prairie Bible Institute and all that stuff, right? And so we have these relationships, and I have relationships from my childhood that are, that's kind of like your ride or die friends, and so they're like family to me, right? But yet we've gone in so many different directions, but there's still that love and bond. And I think, you can't discredit or discard those relationships because someone's not, chasing big success in business necessarily or that kind of thing, right?
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Yeah. And so those are my 30 to 40 year to 50 year relationships that I've had. And there's probably about a handful or so that are near and dear to me. And then there's the people that you meet in your business journey, right? And again, you're constantly having to reevaluate who you're going to give bandwidth to.
So there is something strategic about relationships. And we have to be careful how that is shared because, we have many relationships and they think it's strategic.
Yeah.
Not so much. But like my wife and I, Jolene and I, we often think, gosh, we have to have couples that are younger than us in our relationships. Mm-hmm. So we can either help them in their journey because we've journeyed there, but it also keeps us young.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we need to have relationships that are much older than us because they've now journeyed places we've never gone.
That's right.
And they can help us.
Yeah.
But it also helps, they get the help of maybe staying a little bit younger because they're with us.
Yeah.
So I think it's really, really important. But I have this concept of always tens. I have to say, what does my life look like 10 years from now? What did it look like 10 years earlier? Mm-hmm. What about relationships? If I go back 10 plus years, do I have relationships that I don't have today? And should I be putting some energy into those relationships again, which I've done in the past? It's been very rewarding. Have you ever done that?
I have. Yeah. I've reached out to apologize, whether I was at fault or not, which is freeing and empowering in relationship. One thing I like to think about when we're discussing the topic of relationships is leaning into those that lean into us, right? Mm-hmm. And so I like to take the premise that, it's business first, social maybe down the road, and then friends maybe many years down the road, but business first in terms of the business aspect of the dynamic. Because as you know, we're constantly in dialogue with people in a business perspective, right? So yeah, it's an interesting, relationships are dynamic and fluid and ever changing, but be wary of your friends that don't get your success and don't get your drive and where you're going and your vision, right? And that's why, again, you got to love your family and choose your friends. And, again, I've got, a pretty strong group of friends that I've had for life. Yeah. And then I have these acquaintances and colleagues and peers and business partners that we meet that become friends throughout the journey. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
Okay. The ultimate relationship.
Yeah.
We're both believers.
Yeah.
Both believe in our Lord and Jesus,
our Savior.
Savior. Yeah. And how does that play into life for you?
Yeah. So it's a constant reminder. I'm not in control at all. And I'm really only a passenger in this journey called life. And so I think, we used to wear these bracelets with the kids, frog, and frog means forever rely on God. Right. And so, being drivers and type A type people, it's very easy for us to want to take control and push through. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think ultimately, it and I know it, when the rubber meets the road, we know to fall on our knees and ask, right, for grace and forgiveness and help and support and miracle. Right. Yeah. So I think it's everything. I mean, it's your most significant relationship next to your relationship with your spouse. Right.
Yeah. It often pray this prayer. I don't always get in the right order. But I would say, God, make me the best disciple I can be, then the best husband, then the best father, and then the best agent.
Yeah.
They get mixed up sometimes.
Yeah.
Very easily.
Yeah.
Because we're driven.
Yeah.
The drive can sometimes mix up those in my order anyways. I don't know about yours, but
absolutely.
Yeah.
One prayer I love is Lord, make me willing to be willing to do your will.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one.
The best prayer, if we're talking about prayer, is our Father who art in heaven.
Yeah.
See, when we pray, we often bring our own desires, our own wishes, our own wants, but that prayer, it's just verbatim, and you just speak it as it is, and you can't put too much of your own influence into the prayer, which is why it was created.
That's right. Yeah.
In such
Lord's
a way.
prayer.
Yeah. We've already talked about your gifts. Do you think gifts can be a curse? And have you struggled with some of your gifts as curses?
Absolutely. Yeah. To be powerfully, and I say this in training oftentimes, to be powerfully persuasive, but to be powerfully persuasive so that you're always doing what's in the best interest of your clients and those around you moving forward, as opposed to being manipulative. Okay. And so that can be a fine line. And as a younger person, I definitely had some struggles with that and still struggle with it, but am much more aware of if I'm being manipulative versus doing what's in the best interest of people moving forward.
Going to shift gears.
Yeah.
That was a bit heavy.
Yeah.
It was great, but it was a bit heavy. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the professional journey that you've had, which has been exceptional. And I'm going to assume that you're not just a millionaire, but you're multi-millionaire. Am I correct?
We're blessed.
We're blessed. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. Business ideas. You've had many, because you're a creative dude. You are a creative dude. Like when we get together, there's a lot of creativity happening. What is your most exciting business idea or venture you've ever had? And did you act on it? Or is it still sitting on the shelf waiting to be dusted off?
Yeah. So there's a book that you always share about, the 4 disciplines of execution.
Yes.
Right. You're a big fan of it. And because of your dripping that book on me, I drip it on everybody. In fact, my son on Saturday, when we were having that conversation before going to spread the ashes, we were talking about the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell and the 4 disciplines of execution. And so having this crazy mind that's going a million miles an hour and stuff, I'm always thinking of different things all the time. There's so many innovations and business ideas. And as you know, Randy, people are coming to us all the time with different ventures from different businesses, completely different dynamics, because we know we're connectors and we're doers and we make things happen. And so, I'm always thinking and innovating. And, I think this new real estate market in the US is nothing but opportunity. I think that the decoupling of the commissions, and I believe, what are your thoughts on that? Do you believe that it's coming to Canada as well? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's coming sooner than later, right?
It's, I'd say it's 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. And that's kind of what my gut's saying too, is that, before we see it. But, so I think there's a lot of opportunity there for education, for us to bring forth to the industry and to affect change. And I've always got these, AI has really helped me with execution. Okay. So one of the things about AI is it's really assisted me with execution and getting things, realized much quicker. So to ask about the innovation, I'm in quite a few opportunities, and I find sometimes that can be a distraction as well. Because my father used to say, the cat that chases many mice ends up very hungry. Right? So in order to be terrific, we know we must be specific. And so our core business being mentors in the real estate space that has, blessed us tremendously in our lives.
So with that, there's so much coming at us. We have so many opportunities that just show up because of the new world, whether it be social media, the access to, us discussing and talking about so many things. There's so many things that come at you, at me. How do we vet? How do we vet what is a good idea? And it could be a good idea, but the execution, whoever's involved, could be poor. How do we vet that? I've got a few ideas, but how do you vet all those ideas that come at you?
So I write them down.
Yeah.
And then I think on them. And then I use my AI and my mentors, and I talk to my mentors what their thoughts are on these situations. And it's a constant challenge that many entrepreneurs have, right? Including yourself. I mean, you again have many ultra high net worth friends and partners that you're in different ventures in that are coming at you with different things all the time, right? Mm-hmm. And these are super successful, established, credible business people that have these great opportunities that you want to be part of. How do you do it? How about this? Like, what are you doing? Because I struggle with it. I struggle with it because I see the opportunities. So many of them is so freaking great.
I was thinking about this the other day. How do I? And I kind of do this, the 1-3-3-1. What does that mean?
Okay,
the 1-3-3-1. The idea comes, so that's the idea.
Yeah.
Then I reach out to 3 individuals and I ask them to give me 3 ideas of how this could go. And those people, it has to be my wife, because she's involved in it some way, shape, or form.
Oh, yeah.
And then whoever else I think could bring value to that opportunity, right? They would see it.
Yeah.
And then I dissect that and I come up with, is this a go or not? Yeah. So 1-3-3-1.
Yeah.
It's not basketball. It's not football.
Yeah.
It's a 1-3-3-1.
Love it. How has that served you?
It served me very well.
Yeah.
Here's the one thing. The less busy you are, the more curious you can be. Mm-hmm. And I used to be so busy with transactional real estate that I had no time to be curious. I was just running for my life every day to keep ahead of the task monster.
Yeah.
But the transition that I've had with EXP has given me more time to be more curious. And so I've had to kind of understand, okay, well, I've got all these ideas. I've got these opportunities. How do I start to vet them? Because I can't go in all of them. And you don't want to go in all of them because they're not all winners.
No.
So I've kind of sorted through that by reaching out to important people.
Yeah. Yeah. So leveraging the network. So I do that equally as well in terms of who's going to be a fit for that. But sometimes it's, as you know, sometimes it's someone from a completely different circle and they see it differently. Right. And so, again, as entrepreneurs, it's a blessing and a curse to have these opportunities. And,
here's an example of that. I'm in a group of CEOs.
Yeah. And CEO forum.
Yes. And one of the individuals runs a nonprofit.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, how is this going to help me?
Yeah.
But it's genius. He comes up with some great ideas because he's in such a different arena. Mm-hmm. And also you go, I never looked over that wall before. And that's pretty cool. So it's really, really important to have a broad spectrum of individuals that you can reach out to.
Yeah. Great network. Yeah. Your group.
Now, 10 years from now, here's come back to the 10s.
Yeah.
10 years from now, what's Phil Hahn going to be doing 10 years from now?
Exactly what I'm doing today. Yeah. No change.
No change.
No change. No, I'm doing what I want to do now and I'm passionate about it. And, I'm open to ideas. And as entrepreneurs, we know there's opportunities coming at us all the time, right? But, let's dig down on that. Okay.
Yeah, I think there's something deeper.
So I've got a lot of friends and family. I'm talking about the old school friends and the family members that every time they're talking amongst themselves, the conversation is, when are you retiring? When are you retiring? When are you retiring? And they ask me and I say, well, I'm probably going to pass on doing a deal. I have no intent of retiring at all. I have no desire to retire. I travel extensively. I take good care of myself. And if I need to take more time off, then I do. And so be it. And so it's just a different paradigm to hear those conversations about when are you retiring? It's almost like they're serving time, like they're in prison, like, oh, I did my 35 years. I'm not going back. Like I was talking to one of my family members and he just retired after 35 years. I love him to bits. He's like, I'm never going back there. I don't want that. That's not for me. I want to be in business, creating, affecting change, helping, having fun. It's what I love to do. And
okay. But let me just stop you there because the line of work we're in, which is real estate.
Yeah.
We see all of these, well, I shouldn't say all, but many, many agents just look like they'll never step out of it. Oh. And, there's very few celebrations of I'm not going to sell real estate more. They just keep going and going and going.
I got to hit you on this one. Years ago, you said, I've never been to a realtor's retirement party. I've been to tons of funerals,
Yes.
but I've never been to a real estate
Yes.
agent's retirement party. And so, so talk about that. I mean,
But here we are. We're still in real estate.
yeah, absolutely.
And we're talking like we're not going to retire.
No, never.
But I'm going to say, but I've changed lanes.
Sure. Oh yeah, for sure. And there's going to be, different lane changes all the time. You're going to be changing lanes, but we're entrepreneurs at heart, and we love to build and create, and then to look back and say, wow, look what we've done, right? Look what we've created. And so, I just don't understand the retirement play. And in fact, I think the work and business keeps you sharp, keeps your mind sharp, keeps you strategic, keeps you thinking. I think there's nothing but good that comes
Keeps
of
you
it.
young.
Keeps you young. Yeah. Look at you. I mean, you know what? 80 years old. Can you believe this? Look at this guy. He looks like he's 40. How many burpees did you do last week in a row?
Too many.
Yeah. What was it? 200, 130? How many?
I don't know, 140 or
104. Who's counting? 140 burpees in a row. Like, are you kidding me? It's amazing.
Okay, going to shift gears again.
Okay.
A little bit about vision, leadership. I know we've danced around that a little bit, but do you have a vision board?
I do.
And what is on the vision board?
Yeah. So it's interesting because it changes. So it changes. So
How often does it change?
I would say it changes maybe every year to 18 months.
Okay.
Yeah, every
And
year
it
to 18
should.
months. Yeah. And so for me, it's just almost like just different places I want to travel to, or different ministries or things I want to support or get more engaged in. And my that's really the bulk of it per se. It's not about attaining financial goals necessarily to acquire stuff. So it's more about servitude and travel. That's kind of what it's evolved in.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I don't have a picture of a boat. I'm not interested in getting a yacht. I don't want a giga yacht. I don't want a mega yacht. I like boats. They're fun. I was on one this weekend, nice boat, but it doesn't appeal to me. I have a cool little car and whatever, but I'm not interested in going and getting a Bugatti Veyron or something like that. Like nothing like that. It's more the servitude aspect and the travel aspect. I like traveling. I like going to places we haven't been. You love traveling, right?
It's experiences. Life is about experiences. Yeah, it's about experiences. Leadership. You're a great leader.
Thank you. As you are as well.
Thank
Amazing
you.
Leader.
Thank you. Were you born a leader? So is it nature or nurture when it comes to leadership?
I think that there's certain personality traits, Randy, that people have, right? I mean, we had a little bit of an aha when we did, it was bank this morning. Was that bank? That was a bit of an aha for you and seeing how I had laid the cards out, right? And by the way, anyone interested in finding out about bank, you can share that because that was pretty cool. I've never heard of that before. Cool. So I think there's the nurture and nature aspect. I think the nurture is probably there are going to be certain character traits, Randy, as we know, the high D, the little bit of I that are character traits that are intrinsic in leaders that we see. Mm-hmm. But I think the ultimate leader is a servant, is really a servant to the people, and is there and is willing to serve the people and is willing to do what others won't do, and is willing to be vulnerable, and which I've struggled with at times with the vulnerability aspect, but you got to be vulnerable and transparent. People like that, and they gravitate towards that transparency and that vulnerability. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a combination of both, right. But I think there are certain characteristic traits and personality traits that make people more prone to being leaders. And we need every type, right? We need every type of personality in our organizations. So
I believe so much of who we are has been formed already in our mother's womb. Our soul is being created and made at that moment. Yeah. And so I think that a lot of it is nature, and it's through what our mother is, who our mother is, who's influencing in that environment. And then, of course, once we're born, then there's a lot of that that's being created. But who are some of the influencers other than your mother and your father? Because we just talked about how they were a huge part of that. Yeah. Do you have other people that have influenced you along the ways?
In 1997, 96 or 97, I was having a tough time. And I was selling cars. I was the number one car salesman at GM in Eastern Canada at the time. And the owner of the dealership pulled me in, and he was a young guy. He had inherited the dealership. Not inherited, but his dad was still around, but he was running it, and he was doing a good job. He's grown it to be a massive, massive company. So good on him. And he pulled me into the office, and he said, you're a really special person. I don't know. He said it like he poured into me at a time when I was most vulnerable. And I really remember that time, him telling me how special I was. Yeah. And then so I want to say 2 years ago, I made him a video at Christmas, wishing him and his family a Merry Christmas and telling him how much I really appreciated him pouring into me at that time because I was in a very, very vulnerable place. And he said, wow, he said, like my entire life, I wonder if what I say to people has any impact or effect. And he said, you have no idea what it means to me for you to have said that. And this is 25 years almost later. Wow. Yeah. That was, and it was a really Holy Spirit type of moment, right? Where, things were not good.
I have many of those experiences where somebody came up to me and said something to, and I still remember them like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And how it encouraged me and gave me more confidence and helped me to continue to grow or become the man I am today.
Yeah.
And it's such a reminder how important it is. We have this responsibility as leaders, as God followers, as people of the world to encourage and help others see what they don't see in themselves. Yeah. So important for us to do that.
And he saw that. And even, and I was winning it. I was winning it in business, as far as a kid in his mid-20s selling 200-300 cars a year, right? It was that beautiful wife and young family, but I was in a very, very bad state, Randy.
But, it's even when you're in a restaurant being served by somebody and just to say to the server, you're really good at this.
Yeah.
I really appreciate what you've done for me this last half hour. Like those little comments can make or break somebody's life in some cases.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Randy. And it's that edification and that validation. Who knows if they've received it, who knows what their familial situation was and their family patterns and dynamics.
In fact, we talked about bank. And I was, my first experience with bank, the fellow was telling me that he saved somebody from suicide by doing, the personality test through bank because he then saw something and he goes, do you need some help today? And the fellow said, I was getting ready to take my life today.
Yeah.
So you just never
know. So how you clearly remember the moment and stuff.
Yeah.
So in 1987, I was at a flea market, and there was I'm not going to mention any names, but there was a bunch of books there, and the books were of this. I didn't know at the time because this is way before the internet, right, or anything. Can't research, right? I wasn't, walking Google or Wikipedia, but I did always have my Encyclopedia Britannicas. My dad would buy them for me all the time because I like research, so I would do my encyclopedias. Mm-hmm. But I was looking at these books, and this gentleman was talking to me, and he was extremely charismatic and amazing, and telling me about all these processes and this and that. And a man came behind me and tapped me on the shoulder. He had dark hair, glasses, really friendly face, and he said, "Stay away from that guy and stay away from those books. That is not good for you. You need to run and go the other way."
Wow.
And I got goosebumps. You can't see it, but I've got goosebumps right now. And so that was obviously a Holy Spirit moment where, I was not supposed to be looking at that material or in dialogue with this person. And I just basically left right then and there. So,
is there such thing as a balanced life?
Absolutely not. Anyone that tells you has a balanced life is full of crap.
Talking about return on life.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, I know. But Randy, you and I both know your fitness is amazing. Your business is struggling. Your marriage is doing amazing, but you're a little overweight. Your fitness, your business, your marriage are great, but you don't have any friends. Whatever. Yes. You're constantly having a counterbalance. So there's such a thing as a counterbalanced life. There's absolutely no balance because, as we know as entrepreneurs, when the going gets tough, we got to go. When the rubber meets the road, we got to go. We got it right. So you're constantly having to shift and counterbalance. And it's like a plane. When a plane goes to its destination, it's not in a straight line, right? It's it's like sailing, tack and jibe, right? So same thing.
Okay, so if life can't be balanced, what does a day look like for Phil? How do you make your day as balanced as you can?
Yeah, great question. Well, and I want to commend you on that because you are pretty friggin' disciplined with your days in terms of how they go. For myself, usually wake up, great time with my wife, and devotions, and then get into work. Maybe a smoothie or a coffee, and then just basically crush it with work and business, and then work out early afternoon, mid-afternoon, and then, prepare dinner and have a great time and friends and whatever, right?
Cool. Yeah. Are you a Netflix watcher?
Cut back quite a bit. Yeah. So definitely like series, Randy. Oh my goodness. And we can definitely binge them for sure. Mm-hmm. If COVID, taught us anything, was how to stream and watch videos. But to be quite frank, we've dialed it back substantially. I don't think we're not in a series right now. And in fact, I put, in my media room in my home, I have my spin bikes there, and normally I have them off to the side so the TV's not disrupted. Well, now they're right in front of the TV all the time. So it's, you can't even really watch TV comfortably unless you're on the bike.
Okay, let's get into something else. Innovation and originality. And one thing that we know about life and business is that it's kind of a copycat world.
Absolutely. Rip off and duplicate, R&D, baby.
That's right. However, somebody that can see through it, past it, and come up with something original, often initially they seem like they're kind of weird. Oh, yeah. They're weirdos. Yeah. That'll never work. Yeah. And then eventually it starts to be adopted. Yeah. So innovation and originality, yeah. we are in the originality business.
Yeah. Yeah.
With EXP, I believe. Yeah. We are. Now everybody seems to want to adopt our model.
Yeah. I think it's great. So, our founder and our dear friend, Canadian, Glenn Sanford, awesome guy, and the visionary behind EXP's model in 2009 when he had the idea. One thing Glenn always stresses, and he says, we always need to iterate on our value proposition, which I think is huge, right?
Yes.
Being the most agent-centric real estate company in the world. But not only that, constantly staying relevant. It's not only about innovation, it's about staying relevant. And I think Glenn kind of nails that, because it's fine to have the disruptive technology and to innovate, but you continually have to stay relevant. I think we've obviously, or in terms of our leadership in our company is, we have, my goodness, we've got an unbelievable squad. And so we're really positioned nicely for this. And so I think it's about staying relevant and constantly innovating. But again, it's a tough go for sure.
Right.
It can be, right?
Yeah. What was so great, I think, about Glenn is he doubted the default.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Doubted the default. He said, why do we default to this all the time?
Yeah.
And that's what caused him to get curious and be innovative and create EXP. And now, would you say in the next 3 to 5 years, the traditional brokerage as we know it, the legacy brokerages, will they exist or will they not exist? Or will they just be a different version of
so good question, right? I mean, you and I obviously have a front row seat to this, that we're looking at profit and loss, income statements and balance sheets of legacy bricks and mortar offices all the time. And very few of them are making any money. Most of them that are, if they're making any money at all, are subsidized by the owner's production and then pumping money back into it, right? So I don't see the traditional bricks and mortar models as sustainable, quite frankly. I don't, and I again, asking about the copycats, I think they're wonderful because, Netflix is still first starter advantage, and you've got Crave and you've got Prime Video and you've got Apple TV and all that. But at the end of the day, Netflix has first starter advantage. And I believe we have that head start in the industry as well. Clearly the public and the investing community and the funds think so as well. So, yeah.
It's interesting. You talked about first to market. Netflix has a 45% market share, and the next closest is Prime at like 14, 15%. That's it. And it's interesting that Prime actually came to the market with streaming before Netflix, but they just kind of paused on it. Yeah. They weren't quite sure about it. And Netflix said, we're all in.
Yeah.
All in.
Well, and to add insult to injury, as we know, Netflix went to Blockbuster and asked them for, was it $20 million to do a reverse takeover and change their name from Netflix to Blockbuster.com? And Blockbuster folks said, yeah, we don't see it. Well, and now they're what, a $300 billion company with over 200 million global users, right?
Yeah.
And they may be more than 300 billion. I don't know. But so we do have that first starter advantage. And again, the industry is ripe for change. Another thing that's really great that we're talking on business is I think our C-suite has done a tremendous job. I want a huge shout out to Leo Perea, our CEO, of really educating the world on this.
Yes.
I mean, he's on CNN, he's on Bloomberg, he's all over the place.
Yes.
Disseminating the information as quickly as possible and bringing relevant tools and technology for people to, thrive in this new market. And Leo says this, and I think it's bang on. 45 days from now, we're not even going to be talking about this. Do you know that? But right now, it is as relevant as it can be. Does that make sense, buddy?
It does make sense. Yeah. Yeah, we're blessed to have Leo.
Yeah.
Very, very blessed. An important lesson that you've maybe taken away could be in the last week, month, year, decade. Is there an important lesson when it comes to business that you want to share?
One of the things that you shared when we were going into business with someone on one of our other ventures was we're being very slow right now so we can be very fast. And I don't know if that's exactly how you said it, but
slow is fast.
Yeah. So, we were in our due diligence period and we were requesting a lot of information and stuff, and we're being slow now so we can be very fast. And so that was a great, a great lesson from you on that.
Yeah. Slow is fast is really important for me. I want to move too fast sometimes and I have to slow it down.
Yeah.
And slow may be doubt. So doubt for me is not something that says, oh, you can't do this. Doubt is like a speed bump, a speed check, so to speak, just so you slow down enough so you kind of start thinking, okay, how could this impact that or do this or do that? But doubt does not mean a no in my world.
Yeah.
And so that's slow is fast as well.
Yeah. So again, slow so we can go fast.
Okay. Let's finish off with this and then we'll hit the speed round.
Okay.
Curiosity to me is so important. And we have this in abundance as a gift as a child. And yet somehow over the course of time, we park it. Are you as curious today as you were as a child, or a different version of curiosity and your imagination playing together?
So that's a great question. And I find that at times I would shelf my curiosity, right? And but I believe that one of the blessings of AI allows me to delve quicker and to execute on my curiosity. Kind of crazy, right? So
I agree.
Yeah,
I
right?
agree. AI's made me way more creative.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a blank sheet that I'm looking at. I can actually say, hey, I'm thinking about this and doing that and creating this. And what about this? And what about next thing you know, I've got a bit of an outline that I can get creative around.
Yeah. So yes, it's allowed me to execute much more on curiosity.
Awesome. Okay. Speed round. Fine dining, takeout, Uber Eats, or home cooked meal.
Home cooked meal.
Home cooked meal. And what are you cooking? Must be Italian, eh?
A lovely pasta. And then with some, a nice salad, maybe some gnocchi as well. Maybe, a scalloped potato, and some, a protein. So it could be a lamb, rack of lamb, or some.
And a bottle of wine?
Or, the bottle of wine would be, maybe, a nice Bordeaux or something like that. We're trying to stay away from, wines with sulfites right now, sulfates and stuff. So yeah, so something from France or Italy, maybe a super Tuscan or a Bordeaux, a nice Bordeaux.
Awesome. What do you do to let your hair down? You got nothing going on. You got the day to yourself. What are you going to do to let your hair down?
Yeah. So, love going for walks with my bride and my dogs, so that's always a nice thing to do. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Favorite band or song?
Are You Looking for Trouble by OK Charlie? It's a shameless plug to my eldest son, Mitchell.
I know. He's quite an artist.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you think there's a time that we're going to see him on the big stage?
Absolutely. Do I? Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Text, email, telephone, or in person?
Depending on, great question. Can I have several answers on this? Okay. Yeah, buddy. Okay. So nothing replaces this, right?
Yes.
But
That's
we don't
why we're doing it in person.
But we can't do this all the time, right?
No.
So text is extremely efficient. Okay. Voice text is great as well, because then you're not even typing. I like that. You just talk to it. Right. But I prefer the voice note to the voice text, because I find when I talk to the screen for it to type out, it's not as clear as just talking to the voice. Right. So I like the voice notes,
well, tonality is so.
Tonality. Well, exactly. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So text. So face to face, text, voice note.
Okay. Audible or book?
Book, always.
Book.
Yeah. Tactile, texture.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Last question. If you were a scratch and sniff sticker, end every show with this, by the way.
Okay.
If you're the scratch and sniff sticker and I scratched your shoulder, what would I smell?
Horseradish.
Horseradish. Never had that before. Why horseradish?
Because it's got punch, but it's good, and it adds, and it makes things better.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
I speed rounded that one. I just kind of, that came up.
Boom. Yeah. Phil, thank you for being a guest on Return on Life podcast. It's been exceptional.
Awesome.
Great answers.
Good to be here.
You're a great guest.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy. Boom.
Boom.
Hey everyone, I just wrapped up an amazing episode on Return on Life podcast with Phil Hahn. Phil Hahn's my partner at Realtor Collective. And if you don't know anything about Realtor Collective, you better check it out. What we do is we bring great agents from around the nation to share how they're prospecting. And so we have in-person, but also virtual events. We're just kicking off our virtual event series. So stay tuned. Click the subscribe button, DM me. Let's go watch the virtual Realtor Collective series.